Welcome to the first episode of the Drag and Drop podcast. In today's episode, our host John Biggs talks with designer Don Twine. Don is a senior digital graphic designer at Sinclair Broadcast Group and has more than 20 years of experience working in the graphic design industry. In this episode, John focused on the importance of simplicity in designing banner ads. Then, the discussion shifted, and Don explained why he's using the SVG format more and more in his visuals. So even if you're a designer or a small business owner, you will definitely hear some useful advice that can help your business or designer career. Now it's time to listen to this episode of the Drag and Drop podcast.
So why don't you just tell me a little bit about what you're working on?
Okay. What I do for Sinclair Digital is I design banners for a couple of different areas. We design banners for our individual stations across the country, as well as we have our own internal digital agency as well, where we'll design banners for other clients across the country as well. Some of those are kind of tied together with the stations, and some are not. So the type of clientele that I design banners for can range all over the place, from like a small mom and pop pizza shop to a large bank chain. It really varies a lot. So so Banner Snack, as we've been using it now since the beginning of this year, since 2019, and it's been great. I've been able to really bang out some great designs and be able to put animation in really quickly. It's kind of been a game changer for us.
Mm-hmm. How do you think? What do you think folks are looking for in terms of modern web design? I mean, it feels like the banner might be changing or even going away. So how do you take that into account?
I think we're moving to more simplicity with advertising, especially. The one thing that we like to always push is images more than text. We do find that the click-through rates are a lot higher when you're working with more imagery and less copy on an ad. So we're always pushing like the visuals more and a little bit of animation to get attention on the ads as well. Because people tend to gloss over anything that has a lot of copy on it. So that's one thing we're always kind of steering our sales staff towards when they're putting in their orders for banners.
Mm-hmm. And you're always dealing with traditional. It sounds like you're dealing with mom and pops. How do you get them to be convinced about the value of online?
Honestly, this is something that our salespeople do more than we do. But we do try to kind of guide them as far as like the best standards for design. We kind of a best practices that we send out. It's kind of general best practices that a lot of companies use as well. Just like I said about using a lot of imagery in your designs, making sure that you have a clear call to action on all your ads as well. Just things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm coming at this more of a how do you represent a little business in a small town that needs online representation. How do you represent them best? Is it through images of the place? Is it images of the food? Images of, I don't know, cool hipsters riding dune buggies? How do you guys think about it?
We try to go with what the client gives us at first, but if it's a small mom and pop shop, they really can't give us a lot of great imagery on their own. So we definitely use a lot of stock imagery. We work with Getty Images, which is really great. I try to work with anything that has a lot of color, something that really pops on the ad. I hate to use the word pop out loud, but I just use it. That's what the clients always say.
You got a pop?
I'm a victim of my own. But so we try to work with anything that's very vibrant, that's kind of a little more in your face, that really shines in the ads. Yes, it shine instead of pop. That sounds better.
Mm-hmm. That sounds cool.
I would say definitely working with simplicity too. You don't want to have a lot of things going on in the ad, and I mentioned text, but also pictures as well. You want, if I was doing something for a restaurant, for instance, I might get let's say for a small mom and pop, they may send me just a picture of their restaurant outside, and I usually won't want to go with that. You want to go with something that really kind of shows the food off really well. So I'll ask them what their menu is. I'll check out some stock and find something that really looks very appealing. That shows a lot of texture in the food that really will get someone's attention when they're going through a web page, especially a news site where they're trying to read an article. You want to get them to kind of have their eyes drift off to the side to see something that's really yummy. So we want to make sure that we use something that's really kind of catches the eye. I think something eye-catching, that's a concept I really don't think is ever going to go away. That's how humans are. Humans are visual people, and you want to be able to have something that really is going to draw attention.
Do you like the animations that Bandersnap has? Do you use that stuff, or is it mostly just kind of still stuff?
Definitely use animation. I've been doing this kind of work for about 20 years now, so I have a lot of experience with working with Flash in the past, and that used to take a lot longer to do. So Bandersnap is really great because I can pull things together that would take me hours or days to put together. Sometimes back in the day, as they say.
Yeah.
But I try not to go too far with animation. I feel like there's a fine line sometimes. You want to get attention to the viewer, but you don't. But sometimes you want a little bit of subtlety too. And the nice thing is I can kind of control that in a finite way with the Bandersnap animations.
So that's actually pretty cool. You've seen the rise and fall of all kinds of weird stuff. Like, I mean, you've seen the punch the monkey kind of situation. You've seen the I guess you could call them, maybe this a couple years ago, where you had like some kind of very specific, like, new laws will let you reduce your mortgage to 0% or something like that. Those kind of things. And now you're saying we're going back to something a lot more simplistic?
I would say visually a little more simplistic. I mean, you're saying that in a lot of things. I mean, if you look at, for instance, an example that pops into mind is even UI design. I think everything is going to a little more simplistic look. If you compare, for instance, iPhone layouts, when the first iPhones came out with all the very kind of three-dimensional shiny buttons to now everything being very flat and bright and sharp. I think that's kind of, we're seeing that across the board, even with a lot of web design too, is going to something that's a little simpler. Yeah, definitely.
How do you stay up to date when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I'm constantly online looking at different ads. Moat.com I go to a lot and check out what's there. There's some good stuff. There's some not so good stuff on there. But it's constantly kind of just going to different websites and going to different areas online kind of to check out what the trends are and how things are being laid out and designed. It's definitely kind of you can't just kind of never go out and look at things. And it's hard to not look when you're in my business. You're always looking at things anyway, but it's good to take that extra step sometimes and really, even if I'm at home and I'm on my tablet looking, reading an article, I'm always going to stop and look around and see what kind of ads are on the page. My eye is always going to that all the time. I think I mentally just it's muscle memory for me at this point. I just kind of just do it, but it's I would say it's definitely a good practice.
Is there any single thing that you've noticed that increases clicks or interaction or anything, or is there anything that you've gotten down to a science?
Like I was saying, the same best practices that we go with are always a good thing. I would say definitely having a good call to action on an ad is very important. If you don't have any kind of like direction, some kind of simple couple of words to really get the viewer to actually click on the ad, it's very important. We always tell everyone to steer away from putting a URL on an ad, because the last thing you want is for them to actually independently go to that website, and because there's no way to track that at that point. We don't know what they're doing after that. So I'm always telling clients, when they want me to put the URL, I'm like, no, you really needs to be a call to action. And you want them to actually click on the ad so we can actually track that and track the success of the ad. That's very important.
Have you ever done an ad that just really surprised you in terms of its energy, I guess, online?
Yeah, I would say some of the ads that we work with we use locators in them too. We do work with a couple of other ad builders as well, and rich media is a big thing that's up and coming as well. So banners that have video that are geo-targeting, they really can kind of draw attention. They can. For instance, I have one that I've worked on that was a lottery where we were able to set up a locator where everyone could go in and click and find the exact place to buy their lottery tickets. And we go to a map and they would go out and find, there were like 200 locations where you buy tickets, and they could easily go through and find the exact location with one tap, go to Google Maps and find out where they could go and find exactly how they are, where they are distance wise to the location. So I think that kind of rich media content is really kind of starting to boom as well.
Interesting. Yeah. So I've seen that. I've seen that change over time. I mean, every once in a while, like literally every once in a while, you'll see like, here are 5 great restaurants nearby, and they're like, and there's a little map down in the corner or whatever of a Google ad or something.
Yeah, rich media is definitely becoming a bigger game player now, especially I think with the dawn of HTML5. There's a lot more that you can do. So I think that format is really starting to finally mature a little more once it kind of, I guess, officially replaced Flash a couple of years ago. It's now really coming into its own.
What other tools do you have in your toolbox that people should take a look at?
I would say even with using anything that's web-based like Bandersnap, I would say still it's great to have desktop programs in your tool belt. Adobe programs are great for that still. The one thing that I do a lot with Bandersnap is I'm moving into using SVG format a lot more. SVG is, you may or may not know, is a vector format for web, and that's really, again, speaking of coming into their own, that's a format that I've been seeing everywhere, especially with logos. And logos that use vector format tend to look really well, look very good on HTML5 ads, especially on mobile, because you want everything, with everything, with the displays now being as they are, being high res. You're working with iPhones that use Retina displays. You want all your mobile ads to look really crystal clear. Even desktop displays are becoming, a lot more prevalent in having high res devices. So you want, or high res screens. So you want to definitely make sure that you're designing your ads so they work well and display well and crisp and sharp. So SVG vector format is great for that. So getting back to the programs I use, I would say definitely always have Illustrator in your back pocket. I always ask the clients to provide a vector format, Illustrator or EPS that I can convert to SVG, or if they can't do that, to at least provide me with something high res, and I can do a trace in Illustrator, which I'll do very often. A lot of times they can't provide SVG. So as long as they give me something high res, I can do a trace that works pretty well on a small scale on an ad, yet still comes out very sharp on mobile devices. So I would say, yeah, definitely. We can't get away from our desktop suites yet. They're still a good resource to have, even when you're working with online building as well.
Okay, so looking into more SVGs, making sure that the res is good all throughout, right?
Correct. Yeah, working with anything that's high res, or I would say if you're working with anything that's rasterized, you want to make sure it's a double resolution to make sure it's going to show well on small devices or mobile devices or anything on any high-res screens. And I've really been moving towards using a lot more SVG vector graphics. It sort of harkens back to Flash, because Flash was very vector-based. So now having a format like SVG that works well in HTML5, I feel like it's a full circle a little bit, going back to the one thing I really liked about Flash. So you think Punch the Monkey's coming back? I think that's got some legs still. Sure, everything eventually comes back around in some way or fashion. I'm sure we'll see bell bottoms a lot again or something. All
right. Have you seen have you ever had a client that just wouldn't listen and just gave you like some absolute junk and you just had to run with it?
Yes, I think that's the plight of any designer, is having to deal with clients that are like that. The best thing you can do is try to guide them. I try to at least give them a choice to say, well, I can do this, but I can also do this. So they at least can see what could be. And very often that works. If I'm able to show them a side by side comparison to what they really want and what I can do for them, very often they'll bend and say, okay, that works better. I think a lot of people who don't understand graphics a lot, they're just not visual people like us designers are. They need a little more help. They need to be able to see what we're talking about. They can't just take it for granted for what we say. So designers, we just have to kind of take that extra step to let them see things for themselves, and then make that decision.
Okay, very cool. What does the future look like for your job?
I would say, again, rich media. Rich media is a big thing right now. I mean, more video ads, more components like interactivity, locators and ads for geo-targeting. You see what else? Dynamic ads is probably a big thing that we're saying. Dynamic content, where you, for instance, if you were a company that wanted to sell different things depending on what kind of weather is going on outside, that the ads would dynamically change depending on what's going on. So if it's raining, it would show rain boots. If it were snowy, it would give you an ad for a scraper for your car or something like that. dynamic is really becoming a bigger thing in our industry as well. And with a couple things, with weather, with time-based, with audience-based, missing one, date-based as well. We do a lot of ads with that as well. So I think really dynamically generated content is really becoming a big thing now.
Interesting. Are you seeing that a move towards that, or is that going to take a while?
It's kind of starting to become a little more prevalent. I think we're going to see that grow over time. I think it's a saturation type of thing. Clients need to kind of know that's an option out there, and I think it's just kind of starting to get out there more. They're realizing that's an option.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very cool. What's your best advice for somebody just breaking into this industry?
Oh, I would say do your research and see what's going on out there. As I was saying, even in your spare time when you're online looking at reading articles, and if you're looking to really design ads, keep an eye on everything that you're looking at while you're out there. Take a minute to look at the ads that are popping up. I would say even in the real world, check out billboards, check out things that you see outside. It'll really give you an idea of what's going on and where design is going. And practice. Definitely find a tool and create ads. Even if you can't find a job and you can't find an internship, don't let that stop you. Try a couple different tools out online to make some ads. There are even other. If you can't afford Photoshop, there are other tools out there that do pretty well that allow you to put different ads together. And it's always great to just put things online. With the dawn of social media now, you can really get your designs out there to different places to get input. I mean, I've seen a lot of designers even use Instagram as a tool. They design some things and put them out there and hashtag them and get feedback sometimes. So I would say really use social media to your advantage if you're trying to get some feedback on your work. Okay.
Should people hit you up on your Instagram, or did you shut yours down?
Mine's available in there. I don't really have a professional one, but I'm actually, now that you're talking, I'm thinking I might want to do that.
Yeah, it might be fun, right? You can share your thoughts with the world. It seems like a really helpful pieces of advice, though. That sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, Don, thank you for joining us. This is going to be really interesting, and I think folks are going to be really. I think a lot of folks are going to be helped by this.
Great. Glad to help.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Indeed, simplicity is making a comeback in the online design industry, and we also believe that the right tool can help you create some awesome graphics for your business. The Drag and Drop podcast is an original series created by Bannersnack. If you loved this episode, feel free to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.